Let's dive right in by first logging into Avanti Neurons for ITSM. Open your web browser and input the URL that was provided to you by your organization. It will open the login screen that will look similar to what we see here, but customized with your organization's branding. Here you'll input a username and password. If your company supports single sign-on, you'll see a link on the login page that will automatically log you in. In our demo, we'll log in using login credentials. To log in, you must be assigned a role within Avanti Neurons for ITSM. In this case, we've been assigned the Service Desk Analyst role. As a Service Desk Analyst, this is our view after logging in. On the home page, you'll see a dashboard, that is, a user-defined summary view of relevant data, your company's logo, and in the header area, you'll see what we'll call top-level tabs or workspaces that take you to other areas of the application. Let's select the Incident tab. A new tab appears next to the Home tab and the Incident workspace opens. For each workspace, you can define a default search which limits the incidents you see upon opening. Here, our default search is set on all active incidents. To close a tab, click the X. One important thing to remember about Avanti Neurons for ITSM is that there is often more than one way to do the same thing. For example, clicking the blue plus icon presents all the workspaces you have been granted access to. You also have the option to select the More top-level tab. Working our way to the right, there is a graphic next to the username and role. Avanti Neurons for ITSM allows you to upload graphics or photographs into a user-employee record for them to see whenever they log in. Most Service Manager users are typically assigned a single role. If a user has access to other roles, these can be accessed via a drop-down menu by clicking on the name of the role. Let's select the Administrator role. In our new role, you'll notice that the dashboard has changed to reflect that role. Switching back to the Service Desk Analyst role, let's review a few more items in the header area. The question mark icon provides links to Avanti's various help files. The links that you see here are determined by role, by default. For example, as a Service Desk Analyst, you have access to user help, maintenance notifications, and an About page. Switching our role back to the Administrator, we can see a few additional help links. To access these files, simply click the link, and you'll be redirected to Avanti's help page. Having selected the Administrator help link, we have access to help files that are geared toward administrators. There are various ways to search and access files on this page, but generally the simplest way is to use the search bar. Let's type task into the search and press enter. This returns search results that contain different information that relates to our search. Selecting the first search result, let's do a quick review of a help file. At the top of the page, you'll often find topics with hot links that redirect you to that particular topic within the existing page. As for the content of a page, you'll find text that either describes a concept in Avanti Neurons for ITSM or provides you with step-by-step instructions on how to perform specific tasks, often with images that expand once clicked. Returning back to the Service Desk console, at the far right in the header is the Logout button. It's good practice to use the logout instead of just closing the browser window. If you simply exit the browser, it doesn't immediately log you out and release your license, where the Logout button does. Your company purchases a certain number of licenses, with each license granting access to one user. Often, companies will purchase, say, 10 licenses, but have 20 team members on the support staff that use those licenses. Consequently, using the Logout button when logging out of Avanti Neurons for ITSM is a good habit to develop. To the right of the Logout button, there is an arrow that allows you to expand the window to full screen. You will notice that when you use this full screen option, it eliminates your header options. Another option to expand the window would be to use the F11 key. If you use the F11 key to expand to full screen, you will retain the header row options. Regarding tabs, you have the option to have multiple tabs of the same item open at once. For example, you may want to have one incident tab open to view incident records and open a second tab to create a new incident. Below the Help and Logout area is the watch list. The watch list is equivalent to using a notepad on your desk. You can store frequently used incident and request records for quick access, similar to bookmarks or favorites. To add objects to the watch list, select one or multiple items, then click the Pin It icon in the toolbar. Here, We've selected the incident record 10480. Opening the watch list, we can see that same incident pinned to the watch list. Click on an item in the watch list to access it. You also have access to the most recent items you've worked on. This feature is quite useful. To remove a watch list item, click the X located on the right of the item. Next, let's discuss dashboards. Here on the top left of the Service Desk console, you can see a drop-down list with the title Service Desk Analyst. This indicates which dashboard you're currently viewing. Dashboards are simply searches of information that are relevant to the role you're using. For example, the Service Desk Analyst dashboard contains dashboard parts like My Open Tasks, My Active Incidents, and so on. Let's switch the role over to Problem Manager. In this role, our default dashboard is the Problem Dashboard. This dashboard also displays search information, but is doing so with graphs and charts. Depending on how these dashboard parts are set up, you can drill down into the charts to access more detailed information. Switching back to Service Desk Analyst, the default dashboard changes to the Service Desk Analyst dashboard. Let's scroll down to the Unassigned Self-Service Dashboard section and discuss lists. There are several general attributes and features you'll find on lists. One is the Maximize button that does just what its name implies. We can see in the upper left the name of our list or search, as well as the number of how many records were located. Whenever you perform a search, it's a good idea to check the page count on the bottom right. Often, there will be more than one page, and thus more list items. On the left of the list is the page size, which is adjustable, and indicates the number of items that display on each page. Across the top of the list are labels of the different columns. Hovering over a label reveals an arrow that, when clicked, allows you to sort from ascending to descending. There's also a filter option. Hovering over a label and clicking the funnel icon, we can see several options. Selecting filters from the drop-down, you can see the available filters for that column. When a filter is applied, the funnel icon will be green, indicating that one or more filters are active. Select the icon once more to add or remove filters. Some columns, as shown here, have a text search filter option. These allow you to freeform type and search for your text entry. You can also group data. Clicking the funnel icon and selecting Group by this field, the filter will group similar items. For example, using this grouping function on the priority column, we've grouped each record by priority number. Click the plus sign to expand each grouping and see detail. Uncheck Show in Groups to return the list to the ungrouped view. To close a list and return to the dashboard, click on the X. Let's cover a few more list-related actions before finishing up. The first is the Export feature. By clicking the Export icon, you can quickly generate a report. An Excel file generates and displays the data from the list. From here you can format, filter, run totals, counts, and so on. Lastly, when you click the refresh icon, it performs a refresh on the system, which then pulls the most current data into your list. You can also return your column width, order, sorting, grouping, and so on when you click the reset icon here. Remote Peak Management recently asked Matt to input 2 new users into the Avanti Neurons for ITSM system, a new internal employee to the company, and a new contact from a local construction vendor. In Avanti Neurons for ITSM, there are 2 user account types: employees and external contacts. An employee is an internal customer who uses Avanti Neurons for ITSM. The system provides employees with an account that defines the login access and available roles. For example, assigning an employee access to self-service, problem manager, service desk analyst, and so on. The system requires that an administrator assign at least one role to any new employee. It is through these roles and assigned login credentials that a new user can access Avanti Neurons for ITSM. The other user account type is the external contact. These accounts serve similar functions as employee user accounts, but with a key difference, in that these users are external customers, that is, users not internal to an organization. For example, You might want to set up a vendor contact to allow them access to the self-service role. Matt opts to take care of the new internal employee first, HR analyst Kyle Wilson. In order to get started, Matt needs to first access the employee contact list. Clicking More in the header navigation bar, Matt selects the employee workspace. Matt is presented with the complete employee list. From this list, users can select and open an employee record to view its properties. Still familiarizing himself with the employee user account creation process, Matt decides to open and explore an existing employee record. Opening Alan W. Cope's employee record, Matt is presented with several default tabs: Details, Roles, Incident, Change, Contact Group, Assets, Activity History, Attachment, Team, Recurring Service Subscription, Time Off, and Accessible Org Units. The first tab on an employee record is the Details tab. This tab contains an employee's contact, organizational, status and team, authentication, and miscellaneous information. The Roles tab shows which roles are linked to an employee and allows users the option to link a new role to an employee or unlink an existing role. The Incident tab displays all incidents submitted by or on behalf of an employee. From this tab, users also have the option to create a new incident on behalf of the employee. Feeling like he's got a good enough overall sense of the tabs in employee records, Matt sets out to create Kyle's employee user account. Returning to the employee list, Matt selects New Employee and starts to create Kyle's employee user account, beginning with the Details tab. A quick note before we get started. Matt won't be working with all the fields and options in this scenario, so if you have any questions about what isn't covered, visit Avanti's Help Center to learn more. Matt begins by filling out Kyle's contact information. The contact information section contains typical fields you would expect: first and last name, primary phone, email, and address, and so on. There is also the option to upload a photo of the employee. Next, Matt fills out the organizational information. The organizational unit field dictates the organizational unit associated with a user. Kyle isn't yet assigned to any business units, so Matt leaves this field set at default. Matt then continues to fill in other relevant information into the remaining fields. The status drop-down contains 4 options: active, new, on leave, and terminated. Each option reflects the status of existing or former employees. Knowing that management likes to run queries on new hires, Matt selects the status new. Then Matt selects the appropriate team that Kyle is assigned to. Given Kyle's HR analyst role at the hotel, Matt assigns him to the HR team. Next, the authentication information section dictates a user's login credentials and other security settings. The settings and fields Matt is concerned with here include the login ID, the Enable Internal Authorization option, and password. The internal authorization option uses Avanti neurons for ITSM security and requires a user to log in using their login ID and password. Next, selecting the Roles tab, Matt moves to link Kyle to a role within the product. As an HR analyst, the only role management wanted Kyle to be assigned to is the self-service mobile role, which will allow him to submit incidents and service requests. Clicking the link option, Matt chooses the self-service mobile role from the list, then clicks Select to finalize. Finished filling out the necessary information, Matt clicks Save. Should Matt need to modify Kyle's employee user account, he simply needs to open Kyle's record on the employee list. Additionally, should he need to delete any user, he would select the record from the employee list and click Delete. Now that he has set up Kyle's new employee user account, Matt sets off to create an external contact user account for the new general contractor hired by the company, Joe Mason. One of the benefits of setting up external contacts in Avanti Neurons for ITSM is that they may be assigned certain roles that relate to their job function. For instance, linking Jill to a self-service mobile role will allow her to make service requests related to her general contracting work. To get started, Matt clicks on More in the header navigation bar to locate, then select the External Contact workspace. He is presented with the complete external contact list. Next, Matt clicks New External Contact. This opens a blank external contact form. External contact forms have many fields similar to employee forms, such as contact information, login information, organization information, and so on. However, the placement of fields does differ between the two forms. For example, though some organizational fields are displayed when first opening a form, Matt needs to click on the full name and address buttons to access most of the contact information-related fields. To access an external contacts login, Matt needs to click on the Login tab. The additional default tabs that appear on External Contact include Incident, Role, and Team. After filling out Jill's name, address, and login information, Matt links Jill to the self-service mobile role and click Save. Similar to employee user accounts, should Matt need to modify Jill's external contact user account, he simply needs to open Jill's record on the external contact list. Additionally, should he need to delete any user, he would select the record from the external contacts list and click Delete.
Users can belong to teams, groups, and organizational units, or OUs. Remote Peak has growing assets related to the Internet of Things. They have just implemented a high-tech security system and have a few IT security specialists that are managing and servicing the system. So Matt has been asked to create a new team for them. Teams are different than roles in the product. They define ownership. Teams are more about your own organization and are relevant to job duties, such as a team that is responsible for loaning equipment or a team responsible for fixing server issues. An employee cannot be assigned a task without being part of a team. The same user can be on multiple teams. Teams also affect how you display data. Let's see what Matt would need to do to create a new team. First, you must be in the administrator role. Click Configure Application to open the configuration console. On the home page, under Users and Permissions, click Teams. Click New Standard User Team. Add a security system team by filling in the title, email, and team manager fields. There is an option for Service Desk. If you create a team and do not check that box, the team will not be able to create incidents. Use this only when needed, depending on the tier structure of your teams. Either way, team members could work with tasks. We want to allow this new team to create incidents, so we'll check the box. Notice that optional fields include weekly availability in hours and the average cost per minute. Even if you don't charge your customers to work on their incidents, you could still associate a cost per minute and then use that in a report. It would show how many tasks were completed, how many minutes it took, and the average cost per minute. You could also compare weekly hours for a team with what actual hours are for reporting purposes. Click Save. Now you'll link existing employees to the team. Click Link and select the following 3 people to add to the team: Sha Yin, Sophie Whitram, and Tim Canterbury. You can use the Control key to select more than one at a time. Click Save when you're done. Another way to link people to teams is through their employee record. If you click the employee workspace, you will see teams and can make changes here using the link and unlink buttons. The next step is to link a team to a service so that we can assign the team to the task that we created for our incident. You'll need to change the role to Service Owner. Then choose the Services workspace. Click the Service Desk service and click the Team tab to edit the teams associated with this service. Click Link. Then click the team you want from the list and click Select. Save the service. If you switch the role to the Service Desk Analyst and go to an incident, you can now select Service Desk as the service. Assign it a category and now assign the new team and owner. Next, click the Task tab. Then click New Task. Now you fill in the summary and select the team that we just created from the drop-down menu. Finally, click Save. To manage existing teams from the configuration console, from the Settings menu under Users and Permissions, click Teams to open the standard user team page. A list of existing teams appears. Select a team from the list to edit specific field values. You can see team data, including a list of linked employees. You can also use the Unlink option from the tab toolbar to remove an existing team. Finally, you can use the Searches area options to search for existing teams.